A Trip to the Moon was made by Georges Méliès, a stage magician who didn't want a life of making shoes that his family business. I mean, come on, what are you even supposed to do with these? Stick your feet in them? So when his father retired in 1888, he sold his share of the company to his brothers and bought the Théâtre Robert Houdin, where Georges attended and was inspired by magic shows, and began to host his own acts. Over the course of the next 9 years, he developed 30 new illusions which turned the outdated Robert Houdin into a theater the cool French kids say could sell enough tickets so the performers wouldn't starve. Then later on in 1895, Georges attended a private demonstration of the Lumiere Brothers cinematograph, a motion picture camera and projector operated by a hand crank. When Georges saw the cinematograph in action, he offered to buy one for 10,000 francs, which according to this random currency converter I found online, is a lot of money in today's money. The Lumiere brothers, however, refused, as they wanted to keep a close watch on their invention and only wanted it to be used for science. Georges, however, knew that this was big dum-dum, as he needed to make films that could crawl so Detective Pikachu could jettison into the stratosphere. He knew he needed to get some kind of film camera, and after pulling some strings, calling some favors, he bought an animatograph from inventor Robert W. Paul. And finally, by 1896, the Robert Houdin started showing film productions, and Méliès was cranking that animatograph like Soulja Boy. Through learning cinematography by the almighty powers of trial and error, Méliès went from 1-minute slice-of-life films, like the one where he informs his friends they do have Uno and it came free with their Xbox, to full-on fantasy stories with special effects he developed, and actors, and set design, and story. You know, that mise-en-scène stuff that makes movies an artistic endeavor, which is what the medium is known for today, and also what makes nerds on Reddit argue about the sequel Star Wars trilogy for 100 replies. Then in 1902, Méliès put everything he had learned to the test and made the biggest, most longerest, most expensivest movie to date at the time, A Trip to the Moon. Much like his other works, A Trip to the Moon was a fairy, a genre of theater, but in this case film which uses crazy fantasy visuals. There are scientists who look like wizards, set designs ranging from extravagant to cartoonish, and some of these new special effects, which were revolutionary because this was 1902, and people didn't even really know what special effects were. The film has no dialogue, not even any title cards like with many other famous silent movies made in the following years, so the film's story is told through body language, imagery, and the actions of the characters if we watch the film today. However, it should be noted that for many silent movies, including A Trip to the Moon, a narrator would be in the theater providing context and dialogue for the characters. Astronomers gather for a meeting where Professor Barbenfouille is like, "Hey you guys, want to shoot ourselves to the moon? I got a plan laid out and it involves a giant cannon." And like a group of college frat boys who feel invincible because they're in their early 20s, the rest of the astronomers decide to put their lives on the line for something that would realistically injure/kill them, but sounds really cool. So they get a sending off party, then get shot to the moon, then take a nappy, kill some aliens, get captured for killing aliens, break free, kill some more aliens, make a daring escape which makes no real scientific sense, come home, get a welcoming party, and some awards for capturing an alien and going to the moon and also killing aliens. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, "Wow, Wolfina, your voice is really soft and ooh-woo feminine, and also, you're really smart, and also, these science space wizards or whatever they are sound really racist and imperialistic, and you would be right on all 9 of those things." However, this wasn't Méliès expressing his approval of colonizing the heck out of this place, this place, this place, that place, and pretty much everything here. In fact, it was the complete opposite, because A Trip to the Moon was most likely satire. You see, Méliès had previously expressed his distaste in far-right politics as a cartoonist, particularly poking fun at fascist Georges Boulanger. So with this background in mind, along with the imperialistic attitudes to the point of absurdity featured in the film, many film scholars both trustworthy and on the internet argue that Méliès made colonialism's negative effects a major theme. What's that? Satire and themes in a movie? Dear God, it's like film is becoming an art form and not just science or magic tricks. Isn't that funny, Lumiere brothers? I bet you don't even think video games are art, you doofuses. Speaking of art, the advances of the art form of filmmaking A Trip to the Moon brought forth. While it's true that there were other films at the time which told a story, including some of Méliès' own work, due to A Trip to the Moon's length of around 13 minutes, it's often considered to be the first major narrative film, meaning a film that tells a fictional or fictionalized story instead of a train vlog from the 19th century. But scale wasn't the only thing A Trip to the Moon had, as Méliès had honed his filmmaking skills in previous productions and was accustomed to new film effects. Effects like the stop trick, an effect where the camera cuts, the filmmakers change an element of the scene, and start recording again to give the illusion of a magical change. Or multiple exposure, where two or more images are overlapped to create a single image. But one important technique was popularized by A Trip to the Moon, playing with continuity by using replays of particular events. You see, in the famous scene where the rocket lands on the moon, we first see a shot of the moon, then the rocket landing into the eye of the moon. Then it cuts to a random shot of the moon's surface. This makes no sense at all. Why would it cut to this random shot? I want my money back. But then you see the rocket land on the moon's surface, and then it clicks. You realize, oh wait, we just saw the same thing from two different perspectives, one with the face of the moon and one of the moon's surface. We didn't see both at the same time, but they happened at the same time. Now, you might be saying, yeah, okay, editing techniques are cool and all, yada yada. How is this film in color? Everyone knows color didn't exist until 1930 something or other. Until then, everyone only saw in black and white. Well, dear audience, you are once again correct on everything you have just said, as this was before the days of being able to record color onto film. So how was this technological marvel achieved? Well, you see, each frame was literally hand-colored. As you can imagine, this was a very expensive and time-consuming process, as out of the presumably thousands of film prints of A Trip to the Moon that were made, only about 60 or so were in color. And now, with its large scale, style, innovations, and technical prowess, A Trip to the Moon had everything it needed to be something incredible. Whenever an art form arises because of a new technology, there comes a spark when people realize that this new technology can in fact be an art form because it can elicit emotion. It can make people laugh. It can make people cry. It can terrify. It can make viewers witness something new, show them something they haven't seen before in an entirely different world, or say something poignant about the one we live in. However, when it really kicks off is when something finally achieves those things on a large scale, and people realize the true power of what they have in their hands. And A Trip to the Moon was that first major step, in a lot of respects. Not only was the rocket in the eye of the moon something amazing on a technological level, that was when creative imagery met artistic theme on a large scale in the film world. I like to think those who first saw that shot got the idea that the rocket in the eye of the moon was a metaphor for imperialism, because that artistic symbolism was when I feel film truly went from just some new technology for science and magic tricks to something incredible, all on its own.